we have with us today the amazing Corey Mitchell, the founder of the Theater Gap Initiative, among many, 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 many other things. As I was reading through some of your information, you've won quite a few awards. And
That's all right.
you've done pretty good. Let's just go through some of those awards,
And
Mr.
he's
Modest.
humble.
I know. I mean, we got to talk about the Tony Award you just won.
What?
The
Yes.
first ever, let me get this name right, Excellence in Theater Education Award. Congratulations. That is
Yeah.
huge.
That's awesome. Yay.
That is awesome.
We feel quite honored that you would grace us with your presence, us little drama mamas. Thank you so much. In addition, top 50 finalists for the 2017 Global Teacher Prize, North Carolina Outstanding Theater Arts Educator, the first recipient of the Stephen Schwartz Musical Theater Teacher of the Year Award, the Cato Lifetime Achievement in Teaching Award, among, I'm sure, many, many other things. So thank you so much for coming on and agreeing to speak with us today. So you have received many, many awards. And as I was going through some of your information, I have to tell you, I got a little bit teary because what you're doing
You can't.
in helping young people achieve in theater is kind of why our whole thing started as a podcast. Is
And just
we
need
we have seen how much theater has changed the lives of our children,
It's drama.
that we want to help others. And we're just in our infancy and we're just nobodies. So to be able to hook up with someone like you who's really doing it for real is just very inspiring. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I'm very happy to be here. And I did listen to a couple of episodes of your podcast just to kind of see what I was getting myself into. And so
And you
it's
still came.
really lovely. And so I congratulate you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. So tell us about your beginnings in theater. How did you start with everything?
Oh my goodness. When I was a little tadpole, I was really fortunate. I grew up in a rural area in North Carolina. It's called Harmony, North Carolina. It sounds very zen. And,
Does, yeah.
but amazingly, in the 70s and in the 80s, I was in high school in the late 80s and everything. Um, I was exposed to a lot as a like artistically. So even in like elementary and middle school, being able to be in choir, in middle school joining the band, high school actually being in theater, and then I was in 4-H. Like I said, grew up as a little rural kid, and there was this thing called the North Carolina Performing Arts Troupe where I performed with other kids from all across the state of North Carolina, where we would come together, put a show together to perform at our 4-H Congress, and then we would tour with the show across the state, and in some cases out of state with that show through the school year. And so I fell in love with theater at a very early age and fell in love with the community and the opportunity of what theater can do and of making friends and expanding your world in ways that I never really expected while I was in high school. And then, of course, college and moving on to try to work professionally. But I went to college on an education scholarship, and so I had reached this nexus. I was living in Minneapolis and working towards my equity card, where time and opportunity was kind of running out, where either my scholarship was about to turn into a pumpkin and become a loan because it was a North Carolina Teaching Fellows, or I was going to be a struggling actor while also trying to pay back student loans. So I returned to North Carolina and started teaching. And my first 5 years of teaching, I was performing a lot, teaching English, but also directing the school musicals. And then in 2001, I had the opportunity to change schools, and I was started teaching theater full time at the Performing Arts High School here in Charlotte, called Northwest School of the Arts.
Wow.
Very nice.
And I can go from there. So I built up really worked hard with a dear friend of mine named Linda Franzese to start building upon a lot of my experience and her experience to shape a musical theater program that really took off like a rocket, and have had the good fortune of teaching a number of kids who work professionally, doing national tours. One student who is like artistic director of a theater company in California. But beyond that, also a couple of students who are like nationally known and notable that people would, whose names you would know. So yeah,
Does that make you feel like a proud papa?
it does. It really, really does. And last week, Renee Rapp was on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and like seeing her do all of that, and it was her birthday, and it was all of those things that were just really wonderful. So yeah.
Yeah, knowing you had a piece of that. We were talking about just a little bit that we do in our local theater, how connected we feel to the children and how proud we are of them, kids that aren't our own kids. And I can't imagine on the scale that you're doing it, what that must feel like to really see them succeeding.
Yeah, we love to watch the kids succeed.
Yes.
So from that, tell us how you got the idea and why you started the Theater Gap Initiative. And tell us about that some.
Okay. Yes. So in 2020, there were a few things that were happening in 2020. First of all, I was approaching 20 years of being teaching at my high school, and I was really starting to feel like it was time for a change. And so the thing that I started looking at was like, is there another school I want to go to? Or what kind of other opportunities would I be good at, or would I be horrible at, or what do I want to learn? And then George Floyd happened. So we had COVID and I'm stuck at home, and then George Floyd happened. And I don't want to brush over like what that was, but it began this whole national dialogue. And in beginning that dialogue, I started having conversations with people about, with other friends and colleagues and people that I knew who were working professionally, all of those things about what's happening in the arts and how are we looking at diversity and, of course, inclusion and those kinds of opportunities. And I started looking back at my career over the years as I was teaching. And what I found is that what I was thinking about is that I taught a lot of truly talented kids. And they were truly talented kids who never worked in the industry, or it didn't happen beyond high school for them. And I know that they had dreams to make it so. So then I started thinking, why are those dreams happening for those students? And quite often where it came from was the whole process of like applying to colleges and doing those things. And I've listened to some of your podcasts in the past, some of your past podcasts about what that process looks like for students getting into college programs. And now if you put another layer on top of that of perhaps parents who've never been to college, or you have like economic distresses that go with that, or like students who just don't see themselves in the arts in that way, it became really incumbent I felt like it was incumbent upon me to start creating what these opportunities look like for students who have been kind of left behind. You can see what our logo. I'll stand up. This is our logo. It's actually a Sankofa bird that's been refashioned into the letter G, but that African Sankofa bird is symbolic of reaching back for those that we've left behind. And I think about students who have the same dreams but don't have parents like the drama mamas who are really out there advocating for them. And so we're trying to fill that gap of opportunity for those for kids that I think in some ways we're in danger of being left behind.
Oh wow, that's
I'm very emotional today
I
because
know
it's
it's
just
a
such
very
a beautiful.
emotional thing. That is such an awesome
Okay,
thing.
now the sound is completely gone. I can't hear y'all.
Oh, he can't hear us.
Oh no.
There.
Can you
Can you
hear
hear
us?
us now?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, in our effort to fix the snow, he's muting and unmuting.
It's live theater, right?
Oh,
Anything can
yes.
happen.
Yes, live theater. So
I mean, oh goodness, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. We're the play that goes wrong, the podcast that goes wrong
are.
today.
Yeah.
Pretty soon the couch is going to fall over.
yeah.
We see a lot of that. Our kids go to a school for the arts around here, and we see a lot of that lack of support from parents. Because we go to a choice school, and there's a lot of diversity in this school, and we actually have noticed that there's not as much parental support for all of the kids that actually attend that school. And that was part of like what felt, at least for me, so important to start this podcast. Kind of like you're doing what, filling in the gap there for kids going into college. We're trying to help, parents be able to support their kids through this stuff that maybe they don't understand. And that's so difficult, to
Absolutely.
to do. So we really admire what it is that you're doing and feel very inspired ourselves even to try and do a little bit more. I mean, right now it's just a podcast, but we're definitely talking about ways that we can do more like you are through your nonprofit for these kids to help support them and
boost them.
and build them up and help parents help support their kids,
And it's interesting because parents, I've never met a mom or dad who is just disinterested in their kid. It's a matter of like where the time happens with that. When you've got 3 kids and both parents are working, and the opposite, like those things that happen with scheduling and sometimes really talented kids who I would love to have in the spring musical, but they have to get a job because maybe it is a single parent household, or maybe it's not a single parent household, but they still need to get a job, or else they've got to go home and babysit because mom doesn't get off until 7:00. And so coming to those meetings and doing those things that, because doing theater takes a level of commitment, especially the way that we ran our program. It took a level of commitment and time that the kids knew about walking in. We would rehearse. Our school hours were 9:15 to 4:15, and we would have rehearsal at 7 in the morning before school, and then do rehearsal until 6 after school. And then on Saturdays, we would do like a 9 to 4 rehearsal with an hour lunch break in between. And if you could not meet those timing commitments, it was hard to stay in and hang with us in those things. So I get that. So with Theater Gap Initiative, what we do is we work with students in their gap year. It's after they've graduated high school, and it gives them more time to be able to devote to the process. And so our school hours, we meet Monday through Friday, and our classes go from 9 to 3, like a regular school day in many ways. Sometimes we're off on Fridays, and we're off on holidays, but we do all day. And our goal is to do a couple of things. First of all, we work with student skill sets. We build skill sets. And so offer students lessons in acting, and not just like acting here, it's acting for the stage, acting for the camera, voice and diction, public speaking, movement for the actor. We also do like a yoga and that sort of thing. Relaxation. I have a couple of dance teachers that work with that come in and teach advanced and intermediate classes for the students. I have voice teachers that give them at least an hour of private vocal lessons every week. And then we have mental health professionals who come in and do like group sessions with them for building confidence, for like handling stress, for doing conflict resolution, because we are partnered with a community college. They also take a college readiness class of like budgeting and all of those things and what to expect when you go to college. So it is 7 months of doing that, of like building the skills, also of course, like all of like so many other theater coaches, we film their pre-screens. We help them through. We have counselors that help them fill out their FAFSA forms, getting parents to trust what the FAFSA form is, and actually put in like how much money they make and how does this work. Working with them on their Common Apps, working with them on when they ask a teacher to write a letter of recommendation, what that letter needs to contain, like what are the buzzwords and the things that the colleges are looking for. And sometimes it's not just like, this kid is great, putting in a narrative to help the schools understand who the kids are. That's the key to a great letter of recommendation, is the narrative. What is something that you remember about this young person, this young artist, that makes them stand out in your mind? There are lots and lots and lots of, they were in the show and they were great, but what is beyond the performer as the human when you're writing letters of recommendation? Those are the keys. So we also take them to the CAP auditions that are in Atlanta, and we're preparing in a couple of weeks. We'll be going to the Unified auditions in New York. And so we help to navigate them through applying to the schools, booking the auditions, understanding how to read, because a number of our kids have already started getting acceptances, and how to read what those acceptances are. What is the financial package? What is it that you're not factoring in to these things and then maybe being able to go back and negotiate for a slightly better package as when they come in. So those are the things that we do. And, excuse me, I know this is a long thing.
Keep going.
We work with students from all over the country. So we've got kids who are, we're working with an apartment complex so that the students have a 7-month, can sign a 7-month lease and come to Charlotte and study with us. Nice. So I have a hired resident assistant who's also our assistant program, our program assistant, who helps get the students to the campus from the apartment complex and like is there as a support with them.
That's amazing.
I know. It sounds like you've thought of everything.
I know, like
Yes.
everything that it could be a barrier to, for these kids, you're just removing that. You're like, okay, yeah, this hurdle, we've got it. This hurdle, yeah, we got that too.
We figured that one out for you.
Yeah.
So I can tell your heart is gigantic. And I think you probably want to take in every single student who applies. Tell us about the application process and what you're looking for in a student.
Well, it's so funny that today is, and I know that this will go out there into the universe in spite of all of the mistakes that I'm making. And hopefully people will be listening to this in a couple of months. But today is January the 15th, and it is the day that we've actually opened up registration for our new cycle of students to come in for next year. Yes.
Celebrate that.
TheaterGap.org. You can click the apply here button. But we also, in discussing this and going through the steps, I've gotten to know a lot of people along the way who are angels helping with a mission. And among those angels is accepted.com. And so the Accepted platform is the platform that a lot of colleges and universities use for the students to upload their pre-screens. Because, you've heard, and I don't want to rehash material that you've already covered on the podcast, but the understanding of what a pre-screen is, a lot of the schools use Accepted as their platform where the kids go in and they can just click, and upload those videos to be seen with the pre-screens. So we use Accepted, and the kids would fill out their application, and I asked them, I'm like, film yourself doing something, sing the song, do these monologues, upload it. And kids are very savvy about uploading. That was one of those things through COVID, that working from home and uploading your homework and doing all of those things, I think has become pretty commonplace. But making those videos look good and understanding what goes into it when the schools are looking at it. I'm not putting the same standards as a college program would in looking at the videos. I'm just trying to look for their talent, look for their passion, see that there is something there with that. So they fill out their applications, upload a video, and I've got a small team of folks who, and by small team, I mean 3. I don't mean there are 8 of us that pour over these, but there are 3 of us who kind of look through, and then we schedule a Zoom with that young person and talk about what it is that they are interested in and how it is that we can help them. Because that's sight unseen, and just I have no idea of what your talent is and have no idea of what you can do and what you want to do, but come on in, that doesn't work. So having that opportunity, and sometimes what I do, and I know I'm talking to the drama mamas, is that I'll ask the mom to leave the room so that I can just talk to the student.
The momagers have to leave.
Yeah, but
Momagers.
we know because we experience that. Our kids do a lot of participation in community theater right now, and a lot of the time, they kick us out. They don't let us in. So we just wait, and we try to be there and be supportive. When they come out of the room.
That's actually how we got so close.
They're just what are you saying? What did they do?
Or texting. What's going on? What's happening?
Yeah.
But that's how we got so close, is we spent a lot of hours kicked out of rooms waiting on our kids.
Together.
Got you.
Commiserating
Yes.
together, Yeah. Oh goodness.
We know moms can get in the way sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
It's a hard line to balance, like being supportive but not being like too overbearing. And
Yes. And, and that's the thing is that sometimes being there for them to pick them up when when there's a rejection, to like help them move on and to process where that comes in is such an important role, you know, and it's one that is in the partnership with teachers and parents that is really important. And I know that over the years, what I let people know all the time, there are a lot of no's that will come your way. There are a lot of no's. And so what you do with that no becomes just as important as what you do with the yes and with being able to perform on stage. That no can be an opportunity to go back and to do something a little bit more, or maybe that no for you, as much as you wanted it, was meant to be a yes for somebody else and their catalyst. Okay, and so we deal with multiple stories. Every every young artist comes with a story. And you, my individual angel baby, you are the center of your story right now. But I have to make a lot more kids. I deal with a lot more protagonists in all of this. And so you figure out what your hero's journey is through that no afterwards. And your parents are there to support you through that, rather than to go back in and become Grendel's mother to seek revenge on your no. Okay, now I guess Grendel's mother is not a very good analogy. I apologize, because Beowulf killed Grendel and his mother. So I'm not trying to do that. Sorry, bad analogy. I'm sorry.
It's all right. You had to wave that English teacher in there. We followed you. We got you.
You're trying to kill us off.
Yes, my English teacher roots came out. Excuse me.
It is all good. No problem.
Well, and in this business, this industry, no is heard so much more than the yes. And, we have found as parents, we don't want our kids to get everything, because this is our opportunity to mentor them and guide them through what rejection feels like and how to rebound from it and how to use that rejection to get better or whatever it may take to just turn it around into something.
yeah, and at this age, they might actually listen to us still.
Maybe.
Whereas when they get a little older, they a little less of that listening thing.
Yes. It's true,
It could be an opportunity to create a new thing. One of my, I guess I'm going to brag on another former student, but I have a young man named Mackay Lee, and Mackay had like this superstardom kind of thing where he went to University of North Carolina School of the Arts, and his first job out of college was a national tour of The Color Purple, of that revival of Color Purple, and then he moved to New York when the tour was done, because I think they did a sit down at Paper Mill, so he was able to get an apartment in New York and start looking for jobs while he was still performing, like on that last stint of the Color Purple tour. And so he got hired in and on that 10-year anniversary production of Rock of Ages. And so he was doing Rock of Ages, and then COVID hit, and he was like, Mitchell, what do I do? What do I do? And I went, create something new. And him and a friend created this web series called For the Boys that is now, like, Coleman Domingo is the executive producer on it, and they're, like, working through and doing network pitches that he expects within the next 7 months they're going to be filming this as a network show with him as, like, the showrunner. And it's amazing of, like, what a no opportunity and what a shutdown does of being able to create your own new thing, you know? It was the same thing, Renee, when COVID hit, I had 7 kids working on Broadway that were my former students.
Goodness.
And one of them,
Wow.
of course, was Renee Rapp, who was the lead, who was playing Regina George in Mean Girls. And so Broadway shut down, and I went, go do television, girl. Like, what's stopping you now? And now she's on Sex Lives of College Girls. And so it's like, where your no opportunities happen can also be where your yes growth can follow. So, yeah.
Well, I love the phrase you said that your no might be a yes opportunity for someone else. And I love teaching selflessness because theater is about working together. And if the right person is not in the right role, then you're all going to fail. So I love the thought of, okay, this may not be the role for me, but somebody else has gotten it. And so now I'm going to do what I can to support them and make this the best I can.
So it's a hard lesson for kids
Absolutely. Yeah.
and parents.
Yeah, for sure. And we'd rather them experience that. And I think we kind of touched on that earlier. Let's do it now when they're younger. Let's get them experience to that no so that we are available to help them, right? Kind of how we said. Because if they got everything that they wanted now, goodness gracious, they would end up, going forward. And the first no that they got as a young adult, oh my gosh, their world would come apart and they wouldn't have those coping skills. Yeah, exactly. So we want
Precisely.
we want them to have that while they have the support.
And I want kids to have those things too. And I also try to help students understand that as you get to be, well, not to be careful of what it is that you wish for, but to understand all of the things that come with those wishes that happen in the world. Like, you say, I want to be a star. Well, being a star also means that there are a lot of people around you who are going to be dependent upon your work and your talent and your doing things to pay for their houses and their children.
Yes.
That's
So-
a multiple amount of pressure.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure, but they don't realize that. All they want is, I just want to be a star. But they don't realize all of the things that you lose, whether it be privacy, whether it be scheduling, whether it be not being able to, I'm sure all of our kids at one point were like, oh, we want to be child stars. Okay, great. But guess what you're going to miss out on? All of that social stuff you get, all of that high school experience, the prom, all of that goes because you start a real adult, job, career,
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. And where the pullback and the privacy that comes with that, and like that can be the backlash of like, this is too much, I want to pull back. But you belong to us. You belong to us. And like, you giving yourself to the world comes with some other sacrifices that happen with it. And I don't know, I know that usually your conversations feel a lot more jovial than what I'm doing. I don't mean to bring down.
It's good. It's good stuff,
Yeah.
So
I hesitate to say this, but I think you need your own podcast because you're amazing. Like
Yeah.
what you have to share with the world. I don't want the competition, but
just hang out with us. We can do this more often.
slightly more than we do.
Slightly, A little bit.
We don't have any Broadway stars in our pockets yet.
No, definitely not. But maybe someday.
Maybe. Who knows?
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so quick question. So you mentioned the 7 month is how long they have the apartment for. So is the program designed for the students to enter, have their 7 month, and then hopefully at the end of that 7 month, they'll be prepared to go ahead and launch into the college setting? Is that what we're looking for? Is that the goal?
Yes, it is. That's the intent. And so there are, because we're gap year, and so they finish high school, they finished in June, and then we start up, we have a partnership with Central Piedmont Community College here in Charlotte, which is a very large community college that has multiple campuses. So we're not on the main campus that's like downtown Charlotte. We're on one of the smaller campuses that's in the suburbs that still has a 125 seat theater in it, as well as 2 dance studios. And so because like community use, a lot of times theater companies or someone rent, or the Charlotte Film Society, they'll rent the theater in the evenings, but we use it during the day. We use it during the school day, and we try to stop 2:30, 3 o'clock so that our students can still get part-time jobs and still work in that way. So we start at the beginning of August and we go through the beginning of March, which is when acceptances really kick in. And so we walk them through what would be the audition process were they a senior in high school. But it's happening without the pressures of like passing their midterms and their finals and all of those things that are added into the stress of being a high school senior.
Okay. That makes sense. So, is there a scholarship opportunity for kids to attend your program, or how does the tuition work?
Yes. So on the website, it says that the tuition is $6,300, and I can say that is still a bargain.
Yes.
No, because I know what a lot of college audition coaches charge.
Yes.
Yes.
So do we.
Yes.
I know what they charge. And then even with that, there is an opportunity for scholarships off of that $6,300. And what that tuition covers are the 3 courses that they take through Central Piedmont, through the community college. We cover the cost of the travel for them to go to Atlanta, to go to Greensboro, to the North Carolina Theater Conference College Day, to go to New York for Unifieds. It covers all of the teaching artists, because we have 14 teaching artists that come in and work with the students as the voice teachers, the dance teachers, the acting teachers. I forgot to mention, we also do music theory. And it's really kind of wild, because last week one of our kids, Tommy, auditioned for Boston Conservatory, and he said in the interview the first thing they had to do was they had this small music theory test, and he was like, thank God for Quentin, because if I walked in on my own, that would not have happened. But that comes from all those years of teaching high school, of sending kids to college, and year over year, I would do this kind of homecoming college panel at students at Christmas. It'd be the last day before we broke for Christmas break, so most all the kids who were in college were home already. They had an opportunity to come back and reconnect with a lot of their classmates, friends that they had done classes with, but they would come to my musical theater 3 and 4, that was the juniors and seniors, and talk about the college process and talk about what it's like for them. And it wouldn't just be freshmen. I would do freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors. Every once in a while, if I had a kid who was in grad school, I would bring one of them in as well. Because so many times, and what I find with in the conversations that you've had, especially with college coaches and things like that, is that people feel like they are walking a path by themselves. And if you are having to walk through the woods by yourself without seeing where you're going, you're stumbling over roots and running into tree branches and feeling like you're failing all along the way. But if you've seen someone who has gone before you, who can kind of light a path for you, and it may not be, you may step off the path, but there's still shadows and things that are symbolically there. So I had a lot of kids who went to school to major in theater because they had examples in front of them. And I was very intentional to make sure it wasn't all white kids, it wasn't all musical theater kids, it wasn't all black kids, it wasn't all straight acting. I would try to do a variety of kids so that my students could see themselves in somebody else and it was not singular. And I think that's what's important for parents, is that your network and helping to support is like making it a way for parents and other moms to see themselves in, or see what could be a lighted path for them in some of the other guests that they have, and the projects that they do and supporting their kids.
Yeah, they can see themselves. One of the things too, I just kind of thought of this is, when we've had our other guests on and we talked about college and the experience and how stressful it can be, and you start your junior year prepping everything, and then it goes by so quick. And you're right, they do have the distraction of everything that's going on. They have to keep their academics up. They have to, there's, I'm sure, shows going on that they're also involved in at the school, so they're trying to keep all the activities up. And we've talked about how this can happen with kids, is that they can initially just kind of get burnt out a little bit, right? So they're going through this process, they're putting all of their time and energy in it. It's so stressful. Everyone around them knows that they're applying for these schools. So, of course, they're getting asked about it all the time. I can just imagine what these kids and parents are going through.
Yeah.
Plus, you have the financial. So then they go through all of this. That, let's say they do get into a school and they go through musical theater, and at the end of their freshman, year, they're like, oh man, maybe this wasn't for me. Maybe I am a little burnt out, And I think maybe another thing that your program offers is just that little pause, to make sure that, hey, this is something that I really want to invest my time, my money, my future into. Let me get more of a, you're just not, this is not a summer intensive that you're doing here, right? You're doing a whole year of where you're getting college credits because you're going to a community college. So your education is not stopping on the other piece. So you're still getting things that you can put towards your college. And you're getting exposed to some things that maybe you didn't get exposed to at your high school level. And it's either going to reaffirm what your dreams are, and yes, this is really what I want to do, and you're going to get them set off straight and get them on the right path with all of the support. Or, I don't know if this ever happens, but if you have kids that do it and they're like, you know what, I kind of realized maybe I want to be a teacher, or maybe I want to, try something else. So it's just I think it's a great platform for kids to just kind of breathe and say, okay, yes, this is what I want to do. And we're going steam ahead, and you're going to get me there, and it's going to be great. And it's not going to be filled with all of this stress of everything else I got going on. I don't know. That just kind of popped in my brain. That another.
We're muted. Yep.
Well, okay. There is a thing, when, again, I refer to the high school where I taught, but I taught there for 20 years, so it's a lot of my narrative. But we had a sister school that's in Denmark. And so we've gone like year over year. Sometimes we'll take kids over and do like a Danish experience for a week or so. And
Oh,
those kids
nice.
would come to Charlotte and they would do that, you know, they would have an experience there. But like in Denmark, they have like high school, and then they kind of, which was what our sister school was, like this intermediate school that was for 2 years, and then there was university. And so the kids that would go into that were like the 18, 19-year old, it was a part of the concept behind that was the maturation and the ability to grow up just a little bit before they entered university. And I think that there is something to be said for taking a gap year and the level of maturity that happens in that time period. This is only our second confrere with them. Confrere means with my brother. That's very intentional of like having students that are working around each other that see themselves as siblings or as co-artists and not as competition. You know, and
I love
that's
that.
Yeah.
that's another part of that's another aspect of that of like trying to psych each other out because you feel like the pie just isn't big enough for all of us. It is. You can work through all of this and you can be together and be together convivially and congenially in a way that you're not tearing each other apart or leaving each other behind in the process. So yes, maturing, and we're not a performing arts company, so they're not all competing to try to be the lead in a musical, because that's not the goal with this. The goal is to help get you to the next level. And as you said, changing your mind, I look at a BFA in acting as a gateway drug, if you will, because a lot of people who work in the industry have a degree in acting or in theater in some ways, and it became the catalyst for them to do something else. So that degree is your gateway to where your career path is. It doesn't mean that you go and you get your degree in acting and that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And if you're not on Broadway or you're not in film and television, then you are a failure. That is not what it is. It is the first step in where you find your happy place in your life, working professionally and working with other people.
You are speaking my love language.
Oh, absolutely.
You are just embracing, we embrace everything you're saying, that we're a community and we're here for each other and we're working together and we want every child to have the opportunities. And thank you. The world needs more of you.
Totally.
How can we, and we do, there's just too much hate out there. And I love everything you're saying.
Well, and that's like my favorite thing about theater in general
Yes.
and the arts is like it's such
And the culture.
It's such a tight community. You know, I know there's a lot of people in the arts, but like I feel like everybody's your family, and it's just so great. And I love that the most about theater in general. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. So how can we and how can the community support you? Because every
what can we
child
do for
needs
you?
to have you in their
Yeah.
life.
Yes,
So
exactly. How can we help you?
Well, you know, like for one thing, having the opportunity to be with you on the podcast and to be able to talk about what we do and what our intent is, that is, you know, the amplification is always, always, always needed. And the second part, of course, is for all of your listeners out there, you can go to theatergap.org and there is a big old donate button that's at the top of the page.
Yes,
Because, you know, like, honestly, I don't charge enough money. So, in
Yeah.
making this a nonprofit, what my friend said that also was in the nonprofit world is he was like, every day you need to get used to asking people for money to help support your mission. I'm like, okay. And that's a hard thing to do because, like, I'm an artist, and just because I do it, people will want to. But no, you have to ask for the things that you want and that you need. And so, of course, supporting through your dollars is very helpful. But then the other thing is the mission doesn't work if we don't have students. So if you know a kid that you're like, ooh, I think they have something, they might need a little extra help, drop me an email.
Absolutely.
There's
we
a
can do that
contact
for
us
sure.
button. And I'll reach out to that kid and I'll schedule them. I'm like, hey, what are you thinking about? Check us out. Like, give me a call. Let's Zoom. Let's talk about this. And let's talk about what your aspirations are and what it is that you see for yourself that maybe other people just don't always identify about you. And it is anywhere in the country. As I said, we'll bring you to Charlotte. You'll have a place to live and you'll be able to like make some of those things manifest. So there is that. Referrals, amplification, donations. Those are the three biggest things that we always need.
Yeah, I think we can handle that.
Yeah.
Our small part, we will do it.
We'll do it.
We were at the Florida State Junior Thespian Festival this past weekend. So our kids.
Oh, in Georgia, yes.
But no, ours was this was Orlando, so this is Florida.
Oh, in Orlando,
Yeah.
gotcha.
But there was a different one in Georgia. But I went to the closing ceremony last night, and there were so many talented kids, and my mind kept going like, how do we help these kids
Yes.
succeed? How do we help them keep going? Because I know not all of them have the benefit of having moms like us that are super involved, maybe too involved sometimes. But I love what you're saying, that we can, I know these kids are too young for college at this point, but we do know some kids that could benefit, that we can contact you and just say, here, we see something in this kid that I think you might connect with. And we will absolutely do that. And
Yes.
encourage everyone out there listening to donate
do the
and
same.
put in your application and
Thank
just
you.
support you
Yeah.
because
It's fantastic. And we've seen, hands-on with Tommy, right?
Yes.
We can talk about him.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
Tommy.
we've seen how that has just affected his life. And how, he's just getting ready to just catapult,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we're going to say we knew him when, right? He's just so talented, and he is out there, he is busting his butt, doing everything he can and making contacts, and he's everywhere. You turn and that boy is not idle. And so we've seen how your program firsthand is affecting somebody's life so positively. So it's it's a great thing.
And it is really quite incredible. The other reason for having a confrere is it is amazing how the people that you meet in these early days become your advocates and become your collaborators and become the people that you can meet way down the road. A lot of people go to my website and they look at, especially my board of directors page, and they see who's on my advisory board. And it's like names that you've seen, like last year, Coleman Domingo was on there, and Billy Porter is on there, and Lilius White, and so some of these. But like, I met Billy Porter in 1997, and so like way years down the road. It's like, it's not like just the Oscars moment, and then he didn't. That's when he finally started to exist. He's an old friend and someone that, like, on a more personal level, that we've had conversations about, like, coming out and relationships with family and relationships with a mother, especially, and things like that. That now, when the kids are like, how did you get him? It's like, I got him 25 years ago. And there are ways of, like, looking at your life and what you do and what you put out into the universe that can reap benefits down the road again and again and again. And so this kid who's out there hustling and doing and making positive impacts with people, that will pay back in dividends when many years down the road that will surprise him in so many different ways.
That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
Oh, it's so true, right? What you give out in the world is definitely what you know, are targeted to get back. That's, yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Well, we want to honor your time because I know you're an incredibly busy man. But
Yes, you are.
I cannot tell you how honored I am that you would take your time
Yes.
to talk with us. And you are a beautiful human. And
Yes.
thank you for what you're doing. And
Inspiring.
oh my gosh, I'm
Yeah.
just like,
So inspiring.
my heart
Yeah.
is so happy right now.
We wish we could talk like all day with you because
Yes.
we
Oh,
We would.
that is so
We would just
kind.
hang
Don't
out.
nobody want to hear that. Hear me all day long. And so it has been a real pleasure, and I truly appreciate the invitation. I've loved this conversation. I know I talk a lot and I talk fast, but it feels
Yeah.
like,
Not
you know,
enough.
when you've got something to say and you've got a mission, you just want to like spit it all out.
Yes.
But
That's what
Yes.
we wanted.
Shout
We
it from
wanted
the
to hear.
rooftops.
And we
Yeah,
wanted,
yeah. People don't want to hear us talk. They
no,
want to hear
we have
you
nothing to
talk.
say.
Yeah, no,
We know nothing.
about this
Nope.
this situation at all.
Every guest we have on teaches us a little bit
Yes,
more.
absolutely.
And we're so thankful for that. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Well,
you.
y'all have a great afternoon, and
too.
You too.
I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank-
I have no idea how y'all found me, but
Tommy,
huh?
we found you through Tommy.
Oh, Tommy Wofford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love him. He's awesome. And he,
A lot more tense.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that kid.
Yeah, we do
I
too.
love him, I love him.
we really do too.
Got
Yeah.
you. Yes, that makes sense. You said you found me through Tommy. I'll tell him.
Yes, please do.
Yes.
Yes.
He's probably tired of us by now.
Yeah, he's probably getting tired of us. We're all over him.
We're his designated mamas.
Yeah. He's got more mamas than he ever wanted.
He's an incredible young man. And that was the thing, is like, Lakeisha just like found us on the internet. And so
Wow.
yeah, the things that Tommy is like, Tommy has this opportunity with, and that he is doing with it.
Oh, the Malcolm
it's
X.
really quite
Yeah.
incredible. And I think Tommy has like 3 or 4 acceptances
Wow.
already now to colleges too.
That's
So,
awesome.
Oh gosh.
you know, he followed a very non-traditional path, and I think that will continue. And I'm really looking forward to his UArts audition, because I think that's the school that was another thing I didn't mention, is that to help demystify the process, I Zoomed with colleges, all kinds of colleges and university programs, so that those schools can explain themselves. So we're getting the snow again, so I guess I'm going to say goodbye.